So a little word to the wise, if you are going to go and see this movie, do not watch Chris Pine's interview with Stephen Colbert before doing so, because he spoils generally the plot of this film. Unless you don't care about that, and you are going to look up the plot anyway before going to see it, which I don't know why you would do, because that just ruins the whole movie, and that's dumb. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we're going to be talking about the film The Finest Hours. This is a film which I've been very intrigued about seeing since I saw the first trailer in theaters, and now we have it. This is about the most daring small boat rescue in U.S. Coast Guard history, I believe. And it takes place during 1952. Chris Pine's character is a new recruit-esque sort of person in the Coast Guard, and he ends up having to go out to rescue this crew of sailors who are stuck in the middle of the ocean. And that, in a nutshell, is our film. I will say this before I get to the review. I am kind of biased towards these kind of films just for the fact that they have this seemingly ordinary person doing this extremely daring, dangerous, and heroic act. And I love these types of movies because of it, especially when they're true stories. And as far as I could tell with this film, it seemed very, very accurate. I'm sure there were some fictionalities that they had to do to make it more Hollywood-esque, but for the most part, I really enjoyed this film for the fact that we see Chris Pine, just this regular guy, going out and doing what is right to try and save these crewmen who are stuck in the middle of the ocean and will die otherwise unless he gets to them in time. I love seeing that stuff. Now, what I did enjoy about this film is that there are different story arcs. We get to see what's happening with Chris Pine's small boat crew. We get to see what's happening on the ship they're going to save. This is where Casey Affleck's character comes into play. He ends up being pretty much the captain of this crew after their other captain gets drowned when the ship just cracks in two. And hey, guess how we're going to survive? And so I really like seeing the survival aspect of this movie, because just seeing the different intuitive ways that Casey Affleck's character, he comes up with to keep the ship afloat, and he knows this ship inside and out. So just the things that he comes up with seem very, very cool and realistic. And those are probably my favorite parts of the movie, is seeing this crew interact and seeing how exactly they're going to survive long enough for Chris Pine's crew to get to them. The third story arc of this film, though, focuses on Holiday Granger. She is Chris Pine's love interest, his fiance, and I didn't really care that much, or at least I didn't really buy into their relationship, because the film starts off very slow in that it basically introduces this relationship as it's introducing these characters, and we see them meet, and then a couple months later we see them get engaged, and then Chris Pine goes off into the ocean, and we never really see the relationship develop. And so I didn't really care as much as I probably should have when I saw her parts of the story where she's very concerned about him. She wants him to be called back to shore, and she doesn't want him to go out and risk his life and die when she wants to get married to him in a couple months. It makes sense that she's having these problems with this, but I didn't really care because we don't see enough build up for that relationship. We don't see it develop any way to make her not seem like this kind of controlling person. That's kind of the vibe that I got from her for a large amount of this movie, because there's a point early on in the film, she asks Chris Pine to marry her, he says no, and then she just kind of walks away and pouts until she gets her way. And then once he's out on shore, she goes to the captain of the Coast Guard and is like, hey, call him back please. And I didn't really like her character as much as I probably should have. Eric Bana does a fine job in the small amount of roles that he has. He's kind of underused in this film, and he plays the captain of the Coast Guard and is someone who is interacted with here or there by both Chris Pine and other members of the cast, but he doesn't do a lot per se. He just kind of talks on the radio every so often and shouts orders at people. I felt like his storyline, or at least his backstory, could have been developed at least slightly more than it was. He seems to be this newcomer from wherever they never specify, and he gets joked about it, and it's like, oh hey, you don't know what you're doing as a leader, and it just seemed like something which was very undeveloped as a character arc for him. The water effects in this film look fantastic, as do most of the special effects and CGI. There were only a few moments where I could kind of tell that it was a CGI background happening. I have noticed that I start to kind of, when there's rain scenes happening, especially on the ocean, I try to see if there's actually like water droplets like hitting the characters at all. I didn't see a lot of that, so I think a lot of that stuff, at least a lot of the rain, was CGI, but I could be mistaken. But overall, the water effects look fantastic, especially when they're just huge waves that are coming towards our cast members and just going over them repeatedly and just getting engulfed in water. It just looked really, really cool, and I think this film could actually be really good to see, at least for those exciting scenes in 3D. I think that that effect will look really, really cool. And lastly, as this is a biopic, I always enjoy it when they show at the very end what happens to the surviving characters and to the remaining crew members. This does end up happening, not for everyone. It only shows really what happens with Chris Pine's character and those of the surviving crew who went out to try to rescue these people. And then we don't really get to see a lot from that. With the credits though, one thing that it did, which was kind of cool, was that it showed some screenshots from the actual film and then screenshots from the actual events, and showed how those things were very, very similar and how they tried to capture those events as closely as possible. And I really appreciated that because it shows that they were trying to stick as closely to the story as physically possible. So that was cool for me. And guys, those are my thoughts on The Finest Hours. I did end up enjoying it for the most part. It does have its issues, as I've stated, but for the most part, it is a very well-made movie. It's a fun rescue movie, and it's a true story, so there is that, and you can appreciate it. But guys, those are my thoughts on The Finest Hours. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like the film as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like for a comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.